Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today, well, I want to start with this story because I think it's singularly applicable to the work under consideration here. How many of you saw the first episodes of Julia Child's The French Chef in grotty black and white, sort of amateurish, wonderful, wonderful things? And she was making some sort of omelet or egg thing. And she was saying, well, when you want to flip the omelet, you have to have the courage of your convictions. And then she flips it, and it goes all over the place. And she says, well, see, I didn't have the courage of my convictions. And so she picks it up with her hands and throws it back in. And it's fabulous. That has a lot to do with Liszt's A Faust Symphony, which is the work under consideration here, because this is one of those pieces, I did a video about it, that almost never works in concert. I mean, I've seen it a few times. It's been pretty dire. It really was. I remember Sergio Commissiona and the Baltimore Symphony doing it when I was in college at Johns Hopkins. And, actually the score says, Liszt writes, because he was never quite sure people would get what he was doing just from the notes. And when they do the chorus at the end, that, the chorus has to be backstage, and they walk out in white robes singing with a solemn, earnest expression, the chorus mysticus from Faust. And they did that. They did it exactly as he wrote, and they came out and everyone just laughed. It was just ridiculous. Because after this whole falderall that was going on for like an hour, and all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, out popped these cultists doing their thing. It was just, there was something so completely ridiculous about it. It's a piece where you must have the courage of your convictions. And no one had more courage and more conviction than Leonard Bernstein in this recording with the Boston Symphony Orchestra on DG. He had so much conviction that he recorded the Faust Symphony twice. That didn't happen very often in the history of recordings. It's his first one with the New York Phil is excellent, and it's a little bit quicker in every movement, which is a good thing too, actually. But this performance is Bernstein at his charismatic best. If you don't like the work, you're never going to like the work. There's nothing anybody can do about it. But if you are open-minded and willing to take the journey, he wrings every expressive drop out of this piece. And he's got the Boston Symphony playing at the top of their game. They sound absolutely glorious, and the sonics are very good for a live performance. The tenor is Kenneth Riegel, who's terrific. The Tanglewood Festival Chorus. It is a long performance, but not because the tempos are unusually slow in the quick bits. They're not. It's extremely exciting, and it's very highly contrasted. He's simply willing to let Liszt be Liszt. To let the music take its time in the slower versions, to just absolutely accept everything Liszt is telling us about these characters. So yes, the first movement is 29 minutes long, but my gosh, it's brooding, and it's intense, and it's noble, and it has all of these qualities, because as Mahler said, and many other conductors, if you're losing your audience because you think they're not paying attention, don't speed up, slow down. That's it. Make them listen. And that's what he does, Bernstein, in this performance. He makes us listen. He makes everything sound meaningful. Instead of just sort of, there's sort of chromatic sludgy in the first movement, and Gretchen can be terribly saccharine. She's Gretchen, you know the symphony, right? I just want to make sure. Each movement is a character sketch. The first movement is Faust himself, a questing, troubled soul, with moments of great heroism or nobility, and then moments of supreme doubt and tortured inward stuff. And then there's Gretchen, who's so sweet. Oh, she's charming. You just see this, the little this young woman, a little girl. She's a young woman sitting out in the field picking a daisy, going, he loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. The harp goes tinkle, 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 tinkle. You just want to vomit sometimes, really. I mean, it could sound so treacly. Is that the word? Treacle. Just excessively sweet and unctuous. But here, again, Bernstein takes the time to let the music flower, but not in the, he loves me not way. It blossoms, and it has yearning and poetry and sweetness, but not like icky, tacky, yucky sweetness. And then the last movement is Mephistopheles. And, the devil is really, it's everyone agrees that it's a stroke of genius in Liszt's part, that he mocks the themes from the previous movements. Mephistopheles is the ironic, mocking, sarcastic, bitter image of the prior characters. Well, Faust, really. Faust particularly. Gretchen is untouchably darling, and she pops up at the end. But anyway, so here we have music of great bite and snap and snarl, and when we finally get to the end, because remember this piece has two endings. It has a very perfunctory and unsatisfying orchestral ending, which you could hear in the Argenta recording, for example, or some others. And then there's the choral finale, which is so obviously tacked on and somewhat inappropriate. I mean, it has nothing to do with what came before. So you again, the courage of your convictions. You got to sell the product. And Bernstein sells the product, because by the time we get to it, first of all, we're ready for something different. And he's prepared it. He's prepared it by making sure that, the music has exhausted itself. And so the only thing that can happen now is the concluding chorus. It's a brilliantly thought out performance, intelligent and spontaneous by turns. And one of the greatest things Bernstein ever did. And no one, of course, will give any credit for it, because nobody really cares about the Faust Symphony. But it is a great work. It's an important work. It's a work well worth getting to know. And so you might as well have the best version of it, or one of the best versions of it. I mean, there's this one and the earlier Bernstein. And there are other good performances of it. That is true. I grant you that. But I think most people would agree that this is really pretty special. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.